What's up, big boy?
How's it going? How are the Giants doing tonight?
So we were down. We scored the first run of the game, and then they tied it up. I had a few rough innings. We were down 6-1. Yeah, we were down 6-1, and then we got in another run, and then we hit a 3-run bomb just not long ago. So it's 5-6 right now.
All right, nice.
Yeah, but who knows if we'll scrape out the dub? Hopefully we do. But right now, Astros got a man on second with 2 outs in the bottom of the 7th. But whatever. Okay, so I was confused, like making my list because what do you want to do today?
Let's do small forwards.
Oh, you're doing small forwards instead of power.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so is that like Giannis?
Giannis is a power forward.
Crap, I don't know the difference between these guys.
It's super ambiguous, pretty much. You can kind of go with whatever. Giannis is definitely a power forward, but I guess I can just kind of get into my list and you can react to it, though.
All right, yeah, let's get into it. So we're going to be doing – all right, let's just do it. Is Draymond Green a small forward?
He's a power forward as well.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
Andrew Wiggins is a small forward.
Ooh.
But
I'm going to go close my window really fast. Sorry.
Okay.
Let's start your list.
Yeah, for this list, I just went to 30 for a couple of reasons. Number one is there just aren't a whole lot of high-quality small forwards in the NBA these days. It's definitely the rarest position to find there. And then our episodes always run really long when I do more than 30. And so I decided to just trim it down to 30 plus. My voice is kind of dying out from the Blazer game, so...
Dude, yeah, that was you want to talk about that for a second? That was a really good game.
That was insane.
There was a few ticky-tack calls, though, like the call on Nurk and the one on I only really watched the fourth quarter. It was the call on Nurk later, like in the fourth quarter, and then another call on Hassan Whiteside. Like they didn't even touch they didn't even touch him, and they literally just
the one where he sent Luka to the line.
Yeah,
like both of those sent Luka to the line.
Yeah, it's like what?
Luka gets a lot of calls. But, I mean, so does Dame. Like, superstars kind of just obviously get that sort of treatment.
Dude, so Damian Lillard's literally, like, the best player in the NBA.
He went crazy tonight. The thing about Dame is you just kind of know, like, it was a must-win game. His haters have been, like, talking crap to him all week, and he just comes out and drops a career high. Like, Dame is one of those guys who can just kind of, when he recognizes it as a big moment, he's just one of those guys who can sort of will his way into that next level, and it's just super special and fun to watch. So definitely,
he's so good. Do you think he's on track to be the greatest Blazer of all time?
Yeah, I think he's already the best player to play for the Blazers. I think you kind of have to throw Bill Walton in for the conversation, just because he's like the only Blazer to have won the MVP, and he brought a championship to Portland. So
what about Clyde?
Yeah, Clyde is sort of the odd man out for me. I know there are a lot of Clyde loyalists, but I think like Bill Walton has the best resume, and I think Damian Lillard's the best player, and I think Clyde just kind of falls short of both of those. You know, even though like we were a great team when he was with us.
So LeBron and Kawhi are smalls.
Yeah. A lot of people would call LeBron a point guard now, but I still think he's a small forward because that's what he's like played for almost his entire career.
Okay, let me write down my list. Okay. My top 5.
Okay, yeah, that sounds good.
All right, you start with your number 1 though.
With my number 1. Okay. So my number 1 guy, obviously there are 2 names that stick out far above the rest. And those names are Kawhi Leonard and LeBron James, and pretty much whoever you want to take out of those is good. But I went with Kawhi Leonard at number 1, just because for me, like obviously the regular season matters, and obviously
I'm not even gonna make a list.
You're not going to?
No, because you literally I'm only gonna make 5, and you literally just took the top 2. So there's like no point. I'll just chime in.
Yeah, that sounds good. So yeah, like I was saying, like, I think you can use the regular season to obviously figure out a lot. Like, that's pretty obvious. But I think the best of the best kind of gets decided in the postseason. And last year, Kawhi just had such a dominant postseason where he would single-handedly take games over for the Raptors and just win basketball games. I think it's hard to ignore that. And so that's why I have him number one. I think because think about this. If it wasn't for Kawhi, Toronto loses in round 2. They lose game 7 against Philadelphia. He was their only guy who could get a basket in the second half. But the thing about Kawhi is when he's locked in, I'd say he's still the best defender in the NBA, which isn't too much anymore. And also, his offense is just so undeniable. And what I mean when I say undeniable is that with all the great scorers in the NBA, like including even guys like Damian Lillard or Steph Curry, even these days LeBron James, to a certain extent, you can kind of, as a coach, create a game plan or trap them or do whatever to take them out of the game, even if that sort of creates other weaknesses elsewhere. There are certain ways to like scheme players out of the game and sort of limit the amount of ways they can hurt you. With Kawhi, you can't really do that because he just sort of uses his like brute strength, and he has some of the best footwork in the NBA, and he can just sort of use that to get to his spots or get to wherever he wants on the court, and he can put up a good shot from there. So
yeah, he's basically just got like him. Like it doesn't matter what you do, really. He's gonna get his. You know, it's kind of like a Giannis thing. Like it's basically up to them whether if they're having a hot night or not. It's not how you scheme for them. It's like what they are willing to do on that given night.
For sure. And yeah, so like obviously people will make the argument like the mid-range is dead or it's an inefficient shot, but for Kawhi Leonard it really isn't, because when it comes down to it and you're like in the playoffs or like in a game 7 or what have you, and you just need to make a bucket, like Kawhi Leonard is going to put up a good shot. He's going to put up a shot that he feels like he can make, and that's very important. And he can shoot the 3 very well too. So, and he can get to the basket. So I definitely
he can do everything.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Like going into the finals against the Warriors, I wasn't really too concerned about his offense, but it really showed.
Oh yeah, for sure. And he's evolved that part of his game so much, which is incredible to see. And then just one other little tidbit about him that I personally find very impressive is how he has 2 finals MVPs and they're on 2 separate teams. And I think what that just goes to show is how much this guy shows up when it matters, which is the first season. And don't be surprised if by the end of this season he has a 3rd finals MVP on yet another team. So this is Kawhi's just a gamer who can.
Has that ever happened before?
No. In fact, I'm pretty sure he's the first person to do it on 2 different teams. And so
wow.
3 different teams will just be absurd. So yeah, definitely like Kawhi at number 1. Number 2, I already said this, but it's LeBron James. I'm obviously, like, full disclosure, I'm not the biggest LeBron fan in the world. But I have to respect the way he's been able to sort of change his game over the years. Like, as he's gotten older, he still has that explosive athleticism that he did when he was younger, which is crazy in and of itself. But he just kind of takes it easier on himself and kind of lets the game come to him and kind of moves more slowly and more deliberate than he did when he was younger, and he would just take advantage of his athleticism and strength more than anything else.
I kind of see that with Melo too.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah.
He's just kind of chilling out there and everyone trusts him. And he's just like, bro, I'm going to do my thing. You know what I mean? And that's so nice to have. Like when they were like today, when they were in like that 3-point basically contest to like, cause I forget, someone hit for the Mavericks hit one. It was like 124 and then like Dame tied it up like at 124 and then it was 127 and then 130 and Carmelo hit it tied at 127, I think.
Yeah, with a hand in his face. It was a great shot. But yeah.
That was a crazy sequence.
Yeah, it was. I think there were 4 or 5 3-pointers in a row, all capped off by that Dame shot that took one of the craziest bounces that you're ever gonna see.
I was like, my jaw. I was like, me and my dad just looked at each other. We're like, what in the fuck?
Yeah, I was just like, as soon as it hit the rim, I was just kind of looking and just praying Hassan Whiteside was gonna somehow get the rebound, and then
Yeah.
all of a sudden it dropped in, and I didn't even realize it until like half a second afterwards. And
Who are the Blazers announcers? It's Jordan Kent. And who's the other guy?
Lamar Hurd.
Lamar Hurd. He's
They're
so, I like them a lot, but it was so funny. Lamar Hurd was like, yeah, for most people that shot's just luck, but when you have touch like Damian Lillard, I mean, I think it's gonna go down. I'm like, shut the fuck up, dude. It's all luck. Stop it. God dang. It was hilarious though.
Yeah. Yeah, they're pretty funny.
Yeah, they are really good. I really like Jordan Kent. I used to watch him like Talking Ducks.
Yeah, it's crazy that this was just the 7th game he's ever called, because
Really?
our old announcer Kevin Calabro, for some reason, just like a personal reason, I guess, wanted to take the rest of the season off, and so Jordan Kent's kind of like the intern, but he's doing amazing for considering it's his first time.
He's good. The Suns are doing crazy too.
Yeah, they are. They're I hate to say it, they're kind of getting fat on a bunch of teams who are sort of resting a lot of their players.
Yeah.
So, but like, it's cool to see Book do his thing, and it's definitely like, even if they don't make the playoffs, it's definitely like a bunch of encouraging signs for them for next year.
Sure.
But yeah, I'd say out of the 3 teams though, Spurs, Suns, Grizz, the Suns are the ones I'd worry about the most for the Blazers, just because of how well they're playing right now and how crazy Book has been shooting it over the past week.
The Blazers, not we, because I'm not a Blazers fan, but the Blazers, that's like the fully vamped Mavericks team, right? Like that's what you're gonna get.
Yeah, the only guy who was out besides Dwight Powell, who is gone, and Jalen Brunson, who were both gone before the bubble started, the only guy who sat out was Seth Curry. And so, yeah, and then this was the second night of a back-to-back for the Mavs, and they had rested Luka and Kristaps the day before, and so we definitely got like their A team tonight, which was honestly, I think it's kind of good, because when you saw the Blazers lose to the Clippers bench team a few days ago and then barely scrape by Philadelphia minus Embiid and Simmons, it kind of was a little worrisome. Like, if we're struggling against these like basically JV teams, how are we going to do against like the Lakers if we make the playoffs? So to beat like a fully formed playoff team today, it was that's
a big deal.
Yeah, so if anything, like, I know it made it harder on us, but I'm kind of glad, looking back on it, that we got a chance against a legitimate opponent.
Mm-hmm.
All I hope now is that the Mavericks play their starters again against the Suns on Thursday, but I doubt that will happen because they're pretty much firmly locked into the 7 seed at this point.
Yeah. Watching Luka is mind-boggling to me.
Yeah,
like the fact that he can get to the rim, because like he's so slow.
Right. Yeah, he's just so
crafty.
Yeah, he's definitely a fun player to watch.
Yeah, he's really fun to watch.
I think we kind of saw it today though. Like, if you don't fall for his tricks, it starts to look pretty ugly for Luka. Gary Trent, like, and I'm partly just hyping Gary up, but he was locking Luka down for portions of the game. And if you don't get baited into Luka's maneuvers, because he's like playing chess, he's thinking a few moves ahead. So if you don't fall for like his setups and his sort of things to catch you off guard, and you just stay kind of locked in, he turns the ball over a lot. He just has a tough time. Like, he doesn't have like a backup plan like a LeBron James or a like Kawhi Leonard where he can like use athleticism.
If he has to, like,
if he can't like outwork you, he doesn't really have anywhere to go.
He'll just like he can't like out like I don't know another word. He just can't. He doesn't have the athleticism to I don't know, because like LeBron, they're just like such freaks. They can't like impose. He can't like impose his will on other people like they can.
Yeah, And that's partly like we'll get into this more, I guess, when we do our playoff preview. But that's why I think he's going to struggle so much against the Clippers, is because against guys like Patrick Beverley and Paul George and Kawhi Leonard, like I think he's going to get put in a bottle, and I think we're going to see a very, very different Mavericks team than what we saw for a lot of the year. I think we're going to see a Mavericks team that has a lot of trouble creating good shots. So
I like Kristaps, though. He's pretty much a danger from everywhere.
Yeah, he was terrorizing us tonight.
Yeah, literally, he is. I like when he got in the fourth when he got that open look 3-pointer. I was like, that's sunk. Like, there's no doubt in my mind he's not going to drain that. He's a bucket.
Yeah, I'd say behind. I would say, well, I guess it's behind quite a few things, but I would say one of the top 10 moments tonight where I cheered the loudest was Kristaps getting fouled out of the game, because he was just a guy who was killing us.
Yeah,
all night.
He was their leading scorer.
Yeah, and there was a lot of chatter about whether or not that was a foul on Kristaps, and I definitely think that that's something that goes uncalled quite a bit. And I think if Gary Trent hadn't exaggerated the contact, it probably could have gone uncalled today. But Gary was in a legal guarding position, and Kristaps kind of backed him down. And if Gary stands firm and doesn't give any ground to Kristaps and he falls over, by the rule of the law, that's technically a foul on Kristaps. So
yeah.
Even though it was minimal contact, it still stands within the rules.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess we better not make this podcast any longer than it has to be. I'll just get back to my list. So I think I was at number 2 with LeBron. So yeah, LeBron. Maybe you could make the case Anthony Davis probably isn't the best teammate LeBron's ever had. That probably has to go to Dwayne Wade. But I think Anthony Davis at this point in LeBron's career is sort of the best fit we've ever seen LeBron with, because they can obviously run pick and rolls. LeBron can hit 80 in transition for easy buckets. 80 just basically is the perfect partner for LeBron, a guy who loves to play above the rim. You'd love to see some better shooters on the Lakers this year.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, Danny Green and KCP are guys who are who have historically throughout their careers been very good 3-point shooters. But the shots, especially since we've gotten to Disney World, the shots just haven't been falling, and that's what's prevented the Lakers from being a elite offense, because God knows LeBron is more than capable of being the lead ball handler in an elite offense. So yeah, his passing, obviously leading the NBA in assists, career high in assists. The passing is better than it's ever been for LeBron. He gets to the bucket less than he did earlier in his career, but he still can. He can still get to a lot of the mid-range shots he likes. He settles way too much for threes this year, which is something I've been noticing about LeBron more and more in the past 2 or 3 seasons, is he's gotten more comfortable taking threes, which I think is a bad thing, because it's a low efficiency shot for him that he misses a lot. And he could be getting to the bucket in those situations. So I'd say that's the biggest knock I have against LeBron at this point in his career, is that he settles too much. But all in all, he's going to come in second for the MVP. Great season for LeBron. I'm excited to see what he can do in the playoffs.
Yeah, for sure.
But it's just obviously, like I said, I don't know if we've seen anybody in NBA history sort of change their game as their careers progressed, but stayed at the level of dominance that LeBron has. So that's a very impressive thing. Number 3 is a guy who I think is one of the most underrated players in the NBA, and that is Chris Middleton, who has hovered above 50, 40, 90 all season. I think he's got the 50 and the 40 down in the free throws. He's an 89.9% free throw shooter, I want to say. So, I mean, basically 50, 40, 90, which puts him in very sort of exclusive company. Only guys like Steph Curry and really the best shooters in NBA history.
Well, yeah, speaking of that, sorry, but like it's so impressive. Like Dame is shooting at such a high clip for like his production. It's crazy how
Yeah.
efficient he's being.
Yeah. He was 9 of
Like
17 from 3 today, like over 50%.
he's shooting like over these last couple games where he scored over 50 points.
Hmm.
He is shooting over 50, almost 60%.
Yeah.
Like his last game where he scored 50, it was like 57 something percent from the field. It was crazy. Like that's so impressive.
Yeah. It's insane. Yeah, it's just so crazy what he does. Like he's such a dominant scorer.
Yeah, but I agree with you. Chris Middleton is a beast.
Yeah, Chris Middleton's awesome.
Same with Al Horford. I don't know. Is he a power forward?
He's a power forward or center.
Oh, he is?
Yeah.
Yeah, I like him.
Probably more of a power forward, though, I would say. But anyway, Chris Middleton has sort of been the perfect complement to Giannis, just a guy who can shoot the lights out of the gym, plays very good defense. I had him on my All-NBA second team. Just the fact that he's doing 50, 40, 90 on the volume he is honestly enough to put him at number 3. But he's a good defender. Obviously, the best defense in the league is the Milwaukee Bucks, and he's not the reason that it's number 1, but he's definitely a cog in the defensive machine for the Bucks. And so, yeah, just a very good all-around player. He's the type of guy who you could just drop him onto any team in the NBA, and he could sort of just do his thing and just be a super great piece in literally any offense you can imagine, which I think is a beautiful thing and something I value in players. So that's why I have Chris Middleton at number 3. Number 4 is a guy who I think has the potential to be better than Middleton, for sure, but he just is always battling injuries, and that's Paul George. Paul George is obviously a great shooter. He's very good with the ball in his hands. He's so smooth. He's able to set up shots pretty much wherever he wants.
Dude, him and Marcus Morris look identical on the floor together.
Yeah, it's
like if you squint your eyes, and Marcus Morris is like number 31, right?
Yeah,
and is it PG 13?
Yeah, 31.
And they have the shooting sleeves on the same arm. I was like, they literally could be the same guy.
Yeah, that's funny. Yeah, and then that's crazy. Now that I think about it, you're completely right.
I was like, God, dude, someone's got to get up on Paul George, and then they're like, Marcus Morris drained the 3. I was like, oh shoot.
Yeah, I never really thought about that, but you're 100% right. But anyway, yeah, Paul George. Yeah, all the stuff I said on offense. He is kind of regressing on defense. He's not the defender he was in Indiana. He can still move his feet and stay in front of guys, and he's still got that size. But he's not quite heavy. Well, he's not quite like heavy enough, I guess would be the right way to put it. He's not heavy enough to compete with the best small forwards in the NBA. He doesn't give effort 100% of the time, and obviously part of that's due to the injuries. Probably tough to stay in like the best shape that you can possibly be in when you've been fighting injuries for pretty much your entire career. But
and a significant one too.
Right. Oh yeah. Yeah, but definitely an elite offensive small forward and a above average defensive guy. So yeah, very.
When did he get? He hurt himself on the Pacers, right?
Yeah, he's pretty much hurt himself on every team he's been on. But yeah, the leg injury where he broke his leg was on the Pacers.
And then he went to the Thunder, and then now Clips.
Mm-hmm.
Got it.
Yeah, and the funny thing about Paul George is he's demanded a trade from every team he's been on, which is kind of, if you ask me, a sort of red flag. He demanded a trade from the Pacers, then he demanded a trade from the Thunder. Not really a whole lot of respect for that, but he is a great player.
It's funny though, like those aren't like the biggest market teams. He definitely is probably happy in LA where he's at right now.
Yeah, probably.
Because, I mean, getting traded from Indiana to Oklahoma City
Yeah.
and then Russ leaves, like, obviously.
Yeah, and I mean PG even left before Russ. I
Yeah.
guess they just weren't experiencing a lot of success, which is sort of the thing that you go back to when you can say like Damian Lillard and did that franchise with that 3-pointer to end the
Over
series.
Paul.
Right, yeah. And
The
after
fact that they're just so jealous of everyone's so jealous of Dame.
well, I don't know if jealous is the way to put it. It's just like
No, they are. I feel like.
I mean, he's definitely put him through a lot. So
What do you mean? Like, you don't think PG is jealous? I guarantee you, PG would love to be as loved as Dame is.
that's true. Yeah, you're right. It is kind of crazy though, like how Dame is like one of the only superstars who's like well loved by fans. Like LeBron's got a lot of haters, and like KD has a lot of haters, and even Steph has like a lot of haters. But it seems like Dame. It's partly because like the
Steph has
Blazers,
haters for the wrong reasons, though.
Steph does.
Yeah. I feel like people just get tired of Steph. I don't know.
Oh yeah, well yeah, that's what I'm saying though.
But
Like
I
it's
feel
crazy
like
how
Steph's
Dame's
never really done anything to like make you actually want to hate him.
no. I
Like,
mean,
because like you can get mad at LeBron for like just kind of being kind of whiny and stuff, but like I don't know what you could really complain about with Steph.
yeah, that's true. If anything, you could say he's like a little cocky, like how he's always doing his little celebrations. And
Yeah, but I
stuff.
mean, like, bro.
Like, yeah, everybody does that, but it gets kind of annoying to some people, I'm sure. But
Yeah, but when you hit the shots he does, I mean, like, it's hard not to get jacked up.
yeah, that's for sure.
But it's so sick. Dame, freaking, he'll pull up from half court and he's just like this.
Yeah,
Like I love it. It's
awesome. Which is kind in itself.
He doesn't celebrate till after the game's done.
No, I mean in itself though, it's also a little bit like I don't want to say corny, but you can tell Dame's kind of playing into the whole like stone cold killer sort of just silent assassin vibe. Like
yeah, trying to be stoic.
Yeah, he knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
But anyway, moving on to number 5 on my list is a guy who I think is really up and coming, and that's Jaylen Brown of the Boston Celtics.
He's a shooting guard.
Yeah, he plays shooting guard for him, but I think his natural position is more small forward. I put him and Hayward on this list as small forwards, and then I put
Jason a power?
I put Jason as a power forward, but I think you could make the argument that even Jason Tatum
is a shooting guard
forward.
Or no, for small forward.
Yeah. And like you're completely right. Like Jaylen Brown started every game at them for shooting guard, but I think he has like the height and the size to play.
What is he, 6'7"?
Yeah, I want to say maybe 6'6" or 6'7", but he's a bigger guy too. Like he's like got those broad shoulders, and I'm sure he probably weighs a lot more than like your average.
He went to Cal, right?
Yeah. Yep. Pac-12 guy.
Pac-12 always produces really good basketball players.
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of weird, isn't it? Like
some of the best basketball players in the league are literally from Pac-12 schools.
And they're always like very few of them are like early draft picks. Like I feel like Pac-12 guys tend to fly under the radar more compared to like some of the other schools. I think there are a few Pac-12 players this year who are kind of flying under the radar, but
who?
Especially Tyrell Terry, but I would also say Peyton Pritchard is sort of the guy I'm excited about.
Oh yeah, you're high on Tyrell, but he's not going to get drafted, right? Does he have the other year?
Tyrell?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, yeah, he was just a freshman, but he declared, so he could have gone back to Stanford for 3 more, but he's ready to test the waters. So
yeah,
and I like him a lot. So
it's pretty sad everything's canceled.
Yeah, it sucks.
The financial impact's going to be crazy.
Yeah, it's insane. Did you hear how even like the Pac-12 canceled it today?
No, yeah, that's what I mean.
Oh yeah. But
at least I don't think as the SEC hasn't made SEC and ACC haven't said anything, right?
And Big 12, right?
Yeah, only Big 10 and Pac-12 have, but it doesn't really matter. Literally, like the ACC and the SEC, and then is Ohio State in the Big 10?
Yeah, But did you hear the thing where like the Big 12 might let some of the Big 10 schools like join their league for 1 year?
Dude, they should let the Ducks join like I don't know. They need to, the Ducks not playing in this year would be an absolute shame.
Yeah, it would. It would be a bummer.
But well, it is a bummer. But I mean,
at this point, like
they need to stick the Ducks. They need to like station the Phil Knight needs to organize a little bubble and station them somewhere like in Texas or something.
Yeah, University of Oregon could build a remote campus in Dallas, Texas.
That'd be crazy. Or wherever. I don't know. They could do wherever the hell they wanted to, probably.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. I'm gonna miss college football this year. Obviously, I'm not the biggest football fan, but just in terms of like going to the games on a Saturday night and all that sort of stuff, it's gonna be weird having a fall without football.
Dude, it's wild. But yeah. So are you on number 6 now?
Yep. Yeah, I just finished up Jaylen Brown. Yeah, I'll just say a few more things. Like he's been a very good defender this year. He's good with the ball in his hands. Like obviously most of his shots come off of like catch and shoot situations, but it kind of sucks for him too though, because when you think about the Celtics offense, like obviously you've got Jason Tatum, Kemba Walker, Gordon Hayward, and like boom, there are your like top 3 ball handlers right there. And I would say even Marcus Smart spends more time with the basketball in his hands than Jaylen Brown does. But I think Jaylen Brown's more than capable of putting it on the deck when he gets the chance. So I think, if anything, he's kind of being, I don't want to say underused or undervalued by the Boston offense, but
I feel like he's a conservative kind of player. Like when he gets his, he'll take it, but like I feel like he's not like the number one.
He keeps the ball moving, and that's another thing you got to give him props for, is that he knows his place in sort of the Boston offense, and he's a super valuable contributor from on defense. If anything, I think it just shows like how highly I think of him, that even though he's not like the main guy on the Celtics offense and he's sort of gets his after Jason and Kemba get theirs, he's still number 5 on my list. Like the kid can play even if he doesn't get a ton of shots in the Celtics offense. He still averages like over 15 points a game, so it's not like he's some low usage role player, but whatever. Number 6 is a guy who's sort of like LeBron evolving. This guy's more declining as well. That's Jimmy Butler of the Miami Heat. The interesting development there have been a few weird things, but I think he's second in the NBA in free throw attempt rate, which is, I guess for those of you who don't know, free throw attempt rate is the amount of free throws you take per field goal attempt. And so basically it just shows like how often do you get to the line compared to the amount of shots you take. And for Jimmy, it's around 25%, 26% this year. And that has been a very interesting thing because he's averaging 20 points a game. So like a lot of those are coming from the stripe because he is a good free throw shooter. And I think that's really bailing him out this year, because the crazy thing is, even though he's been a good 3-point shooter over his career, he's dipped down to 24% this year. And now he's not even taking 3-pointers anymore. He's almost like, not obviously Ben Simmons, that's a cliche, but like he avoids the 3-pointers at all costs right now, it feels like. And obviously when you're as mid-range heavy as Jimmy is, it's going to be very hard to create efficient offense if you don't also have the 3-pointer in your arsenal. And that's why it's been so kind of cool to see him draw all these fouls and get to the line this year and maintain his efficiency on offense despite the fact that he's not a shooter. And his passing has been awesome, especially when he works with like guys like Bam Adebayo in the pick and roll, or he's part of the handoff game with like Duncan Robinson. This is an unpopular opinion, I'm sure, but I don't think Jimmy Butler exists without Duncan Robinson. Just like the gravity that Duncan attracts and can clear out an entire side of the court for Jimmy to go to work, I think is a lifesaver for Butler. But So yeah, I've basically said all I can about his offense. Defensively, Sure, he's regressing. Sure, he's not as quick as he used to be. Maybe not always quite as locked in, although he can really get up for games when he needs to. He's still been a very good defensive player statistically. I think he's like plus 1.5 defensive BPM. And then, like, obviously, he's always guarding the toughest matchups on the other team. Just yesterday, I want to say, when they played the Pacers, obviously he had that feud with TJ Warren. TJ Warren's been going off.
Yeah.
Butler guarded TJ Warren. TJ Warren did not get anything on Jimmy. So even though that part of his game has been declining over the past, I would say, 2.5 years, he can still play defense with the best of them when he needs to, which sort of brings me, I guess, to my number 7 guy. That's TJ Warren, a guy who's really been making a name for himself. Well, people knew who he was, but this is a guy who's making a name for himself as an all-star, even a guy who you could look at for fringe all-NBA next season. TJ Warren is like, if I was making my perfect small forward in a lab, like TJ Warren is pretty much that guy. Like TJ Warren is
We're Mike is sure like we're it's top 9 with 1 out, and we have 1 man on and we're down by 1 run.
Oh really?
Yeah, is TJ Warren younger or older?
I think this is I think he's like 26 or 27. This is his 5th year in the NBA. I'm pretty sure.
Oh, so he's fine.
Yeah, he's
Even
just
Oladipo could be good.
Yeah, the Pacers are going to be crazy. I'm fascinated by the Pacers.
Who else is on their team?
So your ideal starting lineup would probably be Brogdon, Oladipo, Warren, Sabonis, Turner.
Wait, they have Malcolm Brogdon?
Yeah.
Who?
Yeah, it's a very interesting lineup.
And then who else?
You've got a lot of guys who I actually love coming off the bench. So you've got the Holiday
Wasn't Brogdon on the Bucks?
Yeah, but the Pacers signed him in the offseason this year.
Dude, they could be trouble.
Yeah, and then you've got guys like Aaron Holiday and Justin Holiday coming off the bench, TJ McConnell, who I love, Doug McDermott, who I also love, Goga Bitadze. You've got Jeremy Lamb, and he's hurt right now. TJ Leaf, just a lot of very
dude, that's pretty stacked.
Yeah,
not gonna lie.
Jakar Sampson's played some minutes. I cannot wait to see what the Pacers do this offseason. I'm just going to go on a little Pacers tangent here just because of how interested I am by them. It's just going to be fascinating because they could go in so many different directions. Like I see it, like Victor Oladipo is a guy who likes to have the ball in his hands and sort of create shots for himself, sort of work in the pick and roll. I don't like his fit with Sabonis whatsoever. Like I hate their fit together.
They have Domantas Sabonis?
Yeah.
Do you like him or no?
I think he's overrated, but I like him.
Man, they're pretty good.
They're super, super interesting. Brogdon and Sabonis are a pick and roll tandem who I love, and who were super great together this year. And so I would hope they can maintain their chemistry into next year. TJ Warren is just a guy who is a bucket. Like he can score from all 3 levels on the court. He can score efficiently from all 3 levels on the court. He can pretty much score against almost any defender in the NBA and get to his shots whenever he wants. Like he's just a stud on offense. And then you've got the fit between Turner and Sabonis in your front court, which I think is super, super weird. And it's kind of
who?
Miles Turner and Domantas Sabonis.
Bro, they're good.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's crazy because like they have so many guys who just are kind of going to either have to be moved or sort of compartmentalized into like a role that is beneath them. But
Domantas 7-footer, bro.
Yeah. And then on top of that, like you've got a coach who he's not like the flashiest name in coaching, but like Nate McMillan is a guy who I really respect. And so it's going to be very interesting to see like what direction he goes to, especially since he's known more as like a defensive coach. So like the offense isn't sort of like his forte, but he's going to have to make some tough decisions, and he's going to have to really figure out what he wants to do stylistically, because there are so many sort of directions the Pacers are going to be able to go this summer. And so, yeah, they're just super, super interesting to me.
No, yeah, they have a pretty stacked ass lineup, bro.
Yeah, they do. It's crazy. And you don't even really
You've
think
got
about it.
scorers.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Man, that's sick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even like, it's hard to know what they're going to do this playoff without.
What do you think that they're going to try to do this offseason? You think they're going to try to get a piece or what? Is that what
Probably
you?
not. They're kind of cap locked. We'll have to do it. We'll have to talk about this. What happened?
It's knotted up at 6 apiece, baby.
Do you want to pause the podcast so you can go watch it? I feel bad.
Absolutely not. I'm following it on my phone. It's fine.
Okay.
Let's go.
We can always do this like tomorrow because like it sounds like it's an exciting game. So if you want to go watch it,
Bro, no, they play every day.
okay. I mean,
And then we're at 8 now.
Yep. So now we've
Dude,
moved
I
on.
like the Pacers. That's crazy.
Yeah, it's fascinating.
Okay, so you've got Kawhi, LeBron,
Chris Middleton,
Paul George,
Jaylen Brown,
Jimmy Butler, TJ Warren. Man, yeah, there's lots of very good small forwards / whatever else they play.
Yeah, that's sort of the weird. I've kind of just been making up the positions as I've gone along, and what's been weird is like sort of how kind of ambiguous it all is. Like really, for most of these guys, you could make the case that they play like some other position. But I mean, it doesn't really matter just as long as I don't forget to include anybody by the time we've made it through all 5 lists. But number 8, I decided to go Brandon Ingram, who obviously we saw as
he shows improvement, and he's improved a lot.
Yes, for sure. We saw him as a finalist even in the Most Improved Player Award. And personally, he wasn't my pick. He came in second for me behind Luka Doncic, which I know is sort of the hot take at this point. But
where's Devontae Graham up there? Didn't he get some recognition for being most improved?
No,
really.
He was sort of the guy everybody is saying is snubbed. I personally don't really see it just because I don't think he was very good this year.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, sorry, man. He put up a lot of shots. Like obviously the Hornets, like let's call a spade a spade. Like the Hornets were a bad basketball team this year. Not a whole lot going on offensively. So at a certain point, somebody's gonna have to step up and just like shoot the ball. And so Devontae just got to take a lot of shots. And like he had a couple months towards the beginning of the season where he was red hot. And during those months, like sure, back then you could make a case for him as most improved player. But as the season continued and he sort of not really as the season continued and he fell off, like, I mean, he's the same player. He's just taking more shots this year. I don't really see the case for him being most improved. Whereas here I'll go on to yet another tangent. Luka Doncic is the guy who I actually think is improved, and everybody's saying,
no shit, yeah, of course.
Everybody's saying like, of course he's a second year player. Second year players are supposed to improve. He was the 4th overall pick, or he was the 3rd overall pick in the draft. Like obviously, a guy who was picked 3rd overall is expected to be good. But the thing is, like, the amount of improvement it takes to go from Luka wasn't even an all-star his rookie year. He was a near all-star.
Now he's a perennial like MVP contender.
Yeah, to be like a legitimate MVP contender, that is just an unreal leap. Not to mention he's leading what is technically the best offense in NBA history. Like obviously, I don't think anybody's calling the Mavericks the best offense in NBA history, but statistically they are. I just think that level of improvement is so meaningful that it sort of is hard to ignore, and it deserves that recognition.
100%.
Even though Luka himself has said he doesn't want to win the award, I think he probably thinks it's beneath him or whatever, but he's my pick. Anyway, his competition for that award is the guy I had at number 8, Brandon Ingram. The singular most fascinating part of Ingram's improvement for me this year was the 3-point shooting. He was a terrible 3-point shooter. Well, not terrible, but he was a below average 3-point shooter in Los Angeles. and he's turned into an elite 3-point shooter this year. Whether it's off the dribble, moving to his left, moving to his right, like
That's big for him too, especially because like how big he is and stuff.
Right,
Like that will
yeah.
open up so much more of his game.
Yeah, he can get his shot off over pretty much anyone.
It helps so much to be like multi-dimensional basketball player,
right?
especially in today's game.
Oh yeah, and obviously, like the cliche is to compare Brandon Ingram to Kevin Durant, and obviously he's nowhere near Kevin Durant. But you can sort of see where people kind of
that was his comparison out of Duke, basically.
Yeah, you can sort of see where it comes from. It's just like two taller, skinnier guys who have like good handles and can use their handles to like create jump shots for themselves. Whether that's in the mid range or from three. Brandon Ingram.
Is his mid range game pretty solid?
Oh yeah, that was kind of his bread and butter. Before he developed the three, but yeah, still bad. Still a bad defender, which is I think what sets him apart from like a guy.
That's a shame too, especially because he can match up. He could match up with so many guys.
Right, he's just so skinny and like sort of weak.
But if his length though,
his length could bother some guys, for sure. But that's pretty much what sets him apart from T.J. Warren, Jimmy Butler, Jaylen Brown.
That's still top 10 though.
Yeah, even almost like a guy like Paul George, probably not Paul George, but the other guys I mentioned, Brandon can score as well as those guys can, if not better. It's just that all of those guys can play defense along with it, and Brandon Ingram's still working on that aspect of his game.
Yeah.
And so that's what puts him down at number 8, which, like you said, is still
really good.
Nothing to sneeze at. Number 9 is the second Celtic I included on this list, and if I included Jason Tatum as a small forward, this would be the third Celtic on my list. Which can we just take a minute to appreciate Danny Ainge's team building? Like if I was a general manager, I would take a lot of cues from the way Danny Ainge has ran the Celtics. Because I said this at the beginning of the show, small forward is the most rare, but also the most important position in basketball. And so Danny Ainge, when he's drafting, he drafts a lot of small forwards and he drafts a lot of wing players and he targets those guys in free agency. So now when most teams struggle to find one capable small forward, Danny Ainge has 3 very, very good ones in Hayward, Tatum, and Brown. And so I just think that's super, super smart how he's just sort of zeroed in on those players and sort of values them above all else.
Yeah, that's so solid because when you have that, any one of those guys can go off on any given night. And when you increase the chances, like that's just amazing. Because I feel like a small forward is like hybrid player basically.
Yeah. Yeah,
so, sure. Yeah. Those scorers, defenders. Yeah.
And it allows you to have so much versatility and so many options in the way you choose to like set up defensive schemes and the way you choose to sort of attack your opponent's offense. And so I just think Danny Ainge is like super smart for like valuing. He like obviously
that's how I would start my team.
Yeah, small forwards are the most valuable position in the league. Everybody knows that. But Danny Ainge values them even more highly than the rest of the general managers seem to. So I just think that's awesome. Getting to this specific small forward of Gordon Hayward, we touched on him a little bit with Jaylen Brown. He spends some more time with the ball in his hands than Jaylen Brown does. This is the first year where I've really felt confident in Gordon Hayward, having bounced back from that gruesome leg injury he suffered in 2018.
Yeah, that was brutal.
This was the first year where it really looked like, or was it 2017? It was it must have been 2017. My bad. But Gordon Hayward definitely looked like his old self.
It was his first season with the Celtics, right?
When he got hurt.
Yeah.
Yeah, correct.
So I think 17 then.
Yeah. And you can he can shoot the 3, obviously. More of a catch and shoot guy from 3. He doesn't take very many off the dribble. what he does do off the dribble is get to his mid-range, where he is one of the best in the league. He's tall. He can shoot over people. He's so good at those little leaners from like 12 to 15 feet away from the basket, where he sort of like comes off a screen, gets his defender behind his back, sort of snakes the pick and roll, even sort of hits that off-balance shot in the shorter area of the mid-range. Like, that's obviously his signature shot, and it's his signature shot for a reason. He's absolutely deadly with it. And he's not a guy who's going to get you killed on defense. I don't know if I would say he's a plus defender, but he's average. And the thing about average small forward defenders is average is actually above average, which sounds kind of weird, but there are just so few capable small forwards in the NBA that if you can get a small forward who won't kill you, that's better than like what 50% of the teams have. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So what differentiates a small forward from a shooting guard from a power forward?
Well, I mean, obviously the main thing you sort of look to is just size. Like, I mean, that's probably the most obvious one. And like really,
but I feel like size from a power forward, because power forward's basically like a center, right?
Yeah, I mean,
capabilities.
Yeah, I would say small forwards spend more time with the ball in their hands than power forwards do. Like, they're usually guys who have a bit more dynamism to their game than forwards do, and obviously that's changing now. Really, the only thing that I sort of look to is like what these guys have played the most sort of throughout their career. But like, yeah, that's kind of
because like, could you make an argument that Klay Thompson is sometimes a small forward or no?
Oh yeah, for sure. I think he's going to be playing pretty much exclusively small forward from this point forward
because of his injury, or is it?
Yeah, because of his injury, just going to be a little bit slower. But and because he's like a bigger, stronger guy than most of the shooting guards are. But yeah, you definitely could make that argument. Most of the time, I guess it's just kind of tough to like differentiate. But yeah, it sort of is one of those things where you just kind of have to sort of feel it out and just kind of see how their team views them and that sort of thing. But number 10, I had DeMar DeRozan, who is sort of getting less attention than he used to now that he's on the Spurs for some reason. But he's still...
Shannon calls him washed.
Who did?
Shannon.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, he's not wrong. Like, he's a guy who's sort of dropping off, especially in the athleticism department. But
yeah,
his shot is still as pure as it's ever been from mid-range. He's one of the best, like, isolation guys in mid-range, like post-ups, fadeaways. He pretty much is the full package when it comes to creating a shot inside the three-point line. Still a very good finisher around the basket, gets to the foul line where he's a great free throw shooter. He's pretty bad defensively, but he has improved his passing, especially as you've sort of seen a lot of the Spurs younger guys sort of develop. And even as you've seen Greg Popovich sort of like not really develop, but like Greg Popovich is starting to get a little bit less conservative as a head coach. He's starting to allow more and more three-pointers. And I think that's helped DeMar DeRozan out a lot. His assists totals have been going up, especially since we've come back in like the bubble in Orlando, Florida. DeMar DeRozan's been making a lot more passes to three-point shooters and getting more assists that way. So that's kind of opened things up for him. And so, yeah, just will always be one of those kind of bucket getters. And that's why I have him at number 10. Number 11 is a guy who I think is pretty underrated. I don't think most people would have them in their top 15. That's Joe Ingles of the Utah Jazz. The thing I like about Joe Ingles is I always tend to overrate these guys. Like, obviously, you saw it with Marcus Smart, who is someone you and Shannon didn't like.
I like Marcus Smart.
Yeah, but I think you guys both didn't quite agree with having him top 10 like I did. Maybe you did.
I don't think he should be top 10 probably.
Yeah. But I tend to go like in
how it would work in your offense.
What?
Like I feel like you base things on like if you were to run a team or something.
Yeah, and I like these guys who play with a lot of heart and maybe aren't like
the most dynamic
players.
Yeah.
Like Joe Ingles is kind of an asshole. Like he gets into people's face. He talks a ton of crap during the games. Like if you watch a lot of interviews with NBA players and like sometimes the reporters will ask them like who talks the most shit during games. Like Joe Ingles is a name that comes up consistently. Like he's always barking. But the thing is like Joe Ingles has got the game too. Like it's not all talk with him. He's obviously a very good defender. That's kind of what he's well known for.
He shoots.
Yeah, for the past few years, the Jazz have always put him on the best offensive player on the other team. But yeah, like you were saying, he can shoot. He can shoot off the dribble. He shoots step backs. He's obviously deadly with the catch and shoot three, which is such a big weapon for the power forward position. And the thing I love most about Rudy Gobert is he's super unathletic. So it always looks like it's slow motion with him. But
he's Joe Ingles, or are you talking about Rudy?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Did I say Rudy Gobert?
Yeah.
Okay. The thing I like about, because I was about to get to that, the thing I like about Joe Ingles is he's played a little bit more with Rudy Gobert this year. And the connection those two have on the pick and roll has been very fun to watch. Joe Ingles is actually a very creative, smart passer out of the pick and roll. He finds Joe Ingles, or he finds Rudy Gobert. Sorry, I'm a little tired. He finds Rudy Gobert probably for like one or two dunks a game. He can shoot floaters off of the pick and roll. He's not an ISO player. He's not a player who you can like sort of put one-on-one against a defender and get a bucket. He's not probably going to do that. But
yeah, because he's not like the most athletic.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, but
he is slow. But he can get his shot. When he gets his shots off, he can sink them.
Mm-hmm. Yep, and just a
he's good. I like the comparison to Trace Tinkle.
Yeah, didn't Anders make that the other day?
Except I don't agree with the. I mean, like I don't know. Trace Tinkle could be good, but
yeah, he's nowhere near as good as Joe Ingles. Like
no, yeah. But Trace, I don't know. Like I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think Trace has a future in the NBA. But like,
you don't think so?
No, but I still think that was a kind of interesting comparison because like they're the same sort of physical profile. Obviously, Joe's probably a lot stronger, but they're both like taller guys who can sort of shoot, but also like to create with the ball in their hands. So I kind of see like what Anders was getting at there. And then number 12 is the Jazz other small forward, who is also sort of a power forward, but I put him on this list. And that's Bojan Bogdanovic, who is one of the best shooters on this list.
Wait, is he related to Bogdan?
No, that's the funny thing. I used to think they were related for the longest time, but they're not actually. It must just be a common last name wherever they're from.
Are they from the same country?
That's a good question.
I'll look it up.
Go fact check that. But Bojan Bogdanovic is just a lights out shooter. He's got a beautiful shot. He's tall. He's got a high release, got a quick release. He gets his shot off effortlessly on the move. He turns and faces the basket so well. He can shoot threes somewhat off the dribble, but that's not really his go-to. If he's going to go off the dribble, he usually likes to get into the mid-range more often, especially when he's moving to his left. And he'll sort of shoot those kind of, not really fadeaways, but sort of shoot those off-balance jumpers moving to his left. And that's sort of his go-to on offense when he's caught the ball and he's putting it on the deck. On defense, he's not by any means a plus defender, but I feel like he gets sort of labeled in that sort of
Bojan is Croatian and Bogdan is Serbian.
Okay. Yeah, I guess
just in and around there, it's probably similar.
Yeah, Bogdanovic must just be a common Eastern European last name.
Yeah.
But anyway, Bojan is not a great defender, but he sort of gets thrown into that stereotype of just he's sort of a slower, less athletic white European dude who might not even like give the best effort on defense. But the Boyan's not exactly a pushover on that end. Like, he's got the size. His feet are quicker than you'd expect, so he can stay in front of most guys. Obviously, he's not a guy you're going to use to like guard a LeBron James or a Kawhi Leonard or a TJ Warren or somebody like that. But like, he's not as terrible as some might think,
Yeah.
which is obviously helpful. Number 13 is a guy who I would say probably besides Kawhi Leonard and maybe Jimmy Butler is the best defender on this list, and that's OG Anunoby of the Toronto Raptors. OG obviously makes his living on the defensive end of the court, where he can guard pretty much anybody in the NBA. Super quick, super strong, super good instincts, just the perfect defensive player. But what's really encouraging is how much he's improved on offense. Like, he went from being pretty much a zero on offense, who didn't really have sort of anything, to being a guy who, although he's not a good three-point shooter or even an average three-point shooter, he takes them often enough and makes them just often enough to the point where defenses have to respect it and have to close out on him. And he's developing a game where he can attack closeouts on the drive. And the thing you love to see there is he's more decisive. So some younger guys in OG would even do this towards the beginning of this year, would sort of, once they take that first dribble into or past the 3-point line, you sort of see some hesitation. And like, although they are trying to get to the basket, they don't quite know like what they're going to do to get to that point. Like, whether like they see a defender stepping up and rotating and that throws them off or whatever. Like, there's just some indecisiveness and not as much sort of assertiveness going to the rack as you'd like to see. But OG's really worked past that this year, and he attacks the rim hard when he decides that's what he's going to do. And for someone who's as strong and athletic as OG, that's just something you love to see and something he'll probably keep improving on. I think the sky is the limit for OG Anunoby right now. I don't ever think he's going to be a TJ Warren or a Brandon Ingram offensively, but I think he can be good enough to where the combination of that and being the best defender in the NBA, which I think he's capable of, I think that could be a top 5 small forward. So OG is a guy who I really like at number 13 on my list. And I would say at this point, this is where we get the drop off. Those top 13 guys are all guys who I really like and I think are the best small forwards in the NBA. And I think,
but like you said, they're rare. So
yeah, and then I think there's kind of a drop off going to 14. The guy who I have at 14 is another guy who you could probably make a case is overrated here at 14, but he's a guy who I've also been super encouraged to buy in the bubble, and that's Mikal Bridges of the Phoenix Suns. The thing about Mikal is, like OG, he's a lockdown defender as well. He's not quite as strong as OG, but he's got much better hands. His arms are crazy long. You can't really dribble the ball in front of him because he'll just take it away. He shuts down pretty much an entire half of the court because he's just so active on defense and he wreaks havoc and he creates so many turnovers. And then you can like throw him at the best offensive guy on the other team, and it's just tough to get past someone with that kind of length. And so Mikal is a super valuable player because of what he brings defensively. And then offensively, somewhat like OG Anunoby, that's the part of his game that was sort of still developing. But his three-point shot has been getting a lot better recently, and he's willing to take it. And so defenders are going to have to respect that. So I think he is a very serviceable small forward, and he's a guy who I actually like quite a bit. Number 15, getting back to sort of the offensive-oriented guys, is Will Barton of the Denver Nuggets. He's a guy who's a very good shooter.
The Nuggets are good too.
Yeah, the Nuggets are pretty good. And Will Barton hasn't even been playing. But he's a very good shooter. He can put the ball on the floor and get to the basket, create in the mid-range. He's super quick, super, super fast. So he's able to sort of get shots off, I guess. and he's not a great defender, but he's an average defender. And like I said, average is really above average when it comes to small forwards. He has got quick feet, stays in front of guys. He gives good effort. He's just a guy who, if you're looking for an offensive-oriented small forward who's not going to kill you on defense, Will Barton's your guy. Number 16 is a guy who I like to think of as sort of discount Joe Ingles, and that's Josh Hart of the New Orleans Pelicans.
Yeah, I like him.
Yeah, not a very good shooter. He's 35%, which is not quite up to league average, but like I always talk about, like you don't have to be an average 3-point shooter. You just have to be a willing 3-point shooter, and that's pretty much all it takes to get defenders to close out on you. And once you've got defenders who are stuck to you, that opens up the offense, which is what's even more important than knocking down threes consistently. So Josh Hart is a guy who, even though he's a 35% 3-point shooter, that doesn't worry me. Just like Joe Ingles, he's good at putting the ball on the ground. It's something he likes to do. He can create, even though when you pair him with Lonzo and Brandon Ingram, it's probably something he's not going to be asked to do very much unless he's coming off the bench, which is what happened a lot this year.
Sorry, but you know what I was noticing is there's so many good past Lakers that are like on different teams. Like Zubats is good.
Yeah.
Clarkson, and then basically everyone on the Pelicans. And that's about it. Like, but like those guys are like ones that I've noticed that have been like on the Lakers previously.
Yeah. It's kind of interesting. Like when you look at just like, obviously the Lakers had to get Anthony Davis to pair with LeBron James. Like that makes them a title contender, especially with the clock running out on LeBron's career.
Yeah.
But when you just kind of get rid of the context and look strictly at the assets that were included to get Anthony Davis, I think the Pelicans won that trade. Like
at least Anthony Davis is young and provides some longevity.
Oh, for sure. I mean, but
like, you know what I mean, though? It's not like you're getting a guy to win now. You're also getting like a future winner too.
But like really in today's day and age, who knows? Like who knows if Anthony Davis wants to stay in Los Angeles after LeBron is done or whatever. Like,
but yeah, that's true. I didn't even think about that. But I mean, like,
it's hard to just
now at least. But he would be a good trade asset, obviously.
Yeah.
If he plays out his contract and doesn't want an extension, how much longer is his contract?
So that's the interesting thing. He actually has a option this year, which is expected to be declined. So he's expected to go into free agency this summer. But
what if the Warriors got him?
Yeah, that would be crazy. All signs point to him re-signing with the Lakers this year, though. It would be a shock.
What if the Warriors got AD? They got the brow, bro. You would actually pencil them in for the finals.
Yeah. I mean, you'd have to, but the odds of that happening.
Wouldn't, dude. I'm not putting anything past Warriors or Niners when it comes to trade moves.
Oh, speaking of crazy Warriors trades, do you know what I saw on I forget what it was. It was one of the sports books. I want to say it was Bovada. Guess what I saw? They have odds on whether or not Devin Booker will play the first game of next season in a Warriors uniform. Like about
why would we get him?
Well, it's just because of like all that stuff Draymond was saying about how Devin Booker should request a trade. And I guess for some reason, some people interpreted it as Draymond trying to recruit Devin Booker to come join the Warriors.
I wouldn't put it past the Warriors. I'm not putting anything past the Bay Area teams, bro.
Yeah, at this point, like, why do you
after the KD and like DeMarcus Cousins stuff, I'm not putting anything past the Warriors.
Yeah, but I mean, why do you even need Devin Booker? You've got freaking Steph Curry and Klay Thompson. But
like you said, they're getting up there in age.
Yeah, they are. That's true. It's big of you to admit that, Kellen. But yeah. Anyway, I forget which one I was on. Yeah, Josh Hart. Anyway, yeah, Josh Hart. Great finisher around the rim. That's probably the part of his game I love the most. He's just so strong and so physical when he gets to the basket. It's pretty cool to see. He finishes over defenders that are much bigger than he does on a consistent basis. And Yeah, he's a good defender too. So yeah, I think Josh Hart is kind of like sort of Joe Ingles light, which is a good kind of role to play.
When you're
But
watching the Blazers games, how nervous do you get?
super nervous. Like,
Really?
yeah, I probably have had like 5 heart attacks just this afternoon. I'm
That's awesome.
pretty sure my neighbors can always hear me.
But you trust them though, right?
The Blazers.
Yeah. Or do you get a little sketched out sometimes?
Well, I mean, I trust them, but like good teams lose close games all the time.
After that Clippers game, bro, it's like it's kind of just like not a rude awakening, but it's just like the eye opener to like you literally have to stay focused for the whole 48.
Yeah, for real.
Because I mean, anything could happen.
Yeah, especially if that's like
Because the Warriors had some decent. I mean, not the Warriors. The Blazers had some decent leads against the Clips.
Yeah.
They got diminished in like few possessions.
And the thing is, when your defense is as bad as the Blazers has been this year, you're going to give up big runs of points to the other teams. Like when you allow as many wide open threes as we do, like that's just kind of something that comes with the package. But
when the Blazers run cold, it's going to be long nights.
Oh, for sure. Which thought
but they've put themselves in a position where it's someone's going to be hot. I feel like with the weapons they have.
Yeah, unless the wear and tear of just having to play 40 minutes a night just to get into the playoffs, like eventually that's going to take a toll on Dame and CJ.
But they've had 2 months off. The 3.
Exactly. Yeah, that's 100% right. Which is why I think it probably won't even come into play because we'll probably be eliminated before something like that would even rear its ugly head. But it's just something to think about, especially after we saw Dame look completely gassed after the first round of the playoffs last year.
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Do you think the winner of this season is going to have an asterisk?
Oh, yeah.
You think so?
Yeah. I mean,
okay, but here's my take. Here's my take on it. If a team that is supposed to win wins, I think that they should have an asterisk by it. But if a team like the Blazers somehow pulls it off, I feel like that's a legit dub.
Yeah, and the thing about it is, like, they're all already championships with an asterisk, and you can pretty much put an asterisk by any championship. Like, you could say, like, the Raptors last year, like, they won, but does it really count when the team you beat is missing Kevin Durant and Klay Thompson, who are literally, like, 2 of the best players in the NBA? Like, you can kind of say stuff that sort of takes away from every champion. And
well, yeah, the actual best teams sometimes don't even win.
Yeah, exactly.
Like when the Warriors won their championships, the Spurs were a better team.
Yeah.
The Oklahoma City Thunder were a better team.
Yeah.
And arguably the Rockets were a better team.
Right. So like that's
you know what
like,
I mean?
Yeah, that's the thing though. Like weird stuff happens every year, and this year's been extra weird. But I don't really think it's anything that you can especially since how high quality the basketball has been since we've come back. Like the players aren't really showing any signs of like rust or sort of being
Dame has some rust. Dame is probably the most rusty player in the NBA.
Yeah, probably. I'd have to throw Devin Booker in there too. Like the whole Suns, like they've only gone 7-0.
I know, but it's so sick though. Like the Blazers literally are in every game they play.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm curious to see how much. Like, what's the most they've been down in this bubble run?
Which team?
The Blazers.
They were down by 23 against Boston.
But that was the first game back though.
Yeah, that was the second one.
That was their second game back?
Yeah, and we came back and we had a 4-point lead in the second half, and then Jaylen Brown just
torched you?
Inferno. Yeah.
That's tough. Who was the first game back?
The Grizzlies.
Oh, yeah, that was a big one, and you got the dub.
Yeah, beat them in overtime. It was a crazy one.
Sick. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, yeah, I think I just finished talking about Josh Hart, which brings me to number 17. We just brought up the Suns. Here's a guy who's not playing for them, and that is Kelly Oubre Jr., who's been sidelined as he's recovered from a knee injury. And Kelly is a guy who is a high energy player, which, like I said, is something I like. And he's a pretty smart player too. Like, he doesn't really get a lot of credit for it, but a lot of the cuts he makes to the basket and like he knows how to get open, which is something that's very cool to see, especially when you play with a guy like Rookie Rubio, who's gonna find you 100% of the time in those situations. Like, knowing when and how to cut to the basket is such a big deal, and that's probably Kelly's biggest strength, I would say. He can shoot the ball pretty well. He's got, I know I touched on this a few times, he's one of those guys who gets better in big moments. Like, if it's a big shot, Kelly's one of the guys who I think is going to make it. He likes to have the ball in his hands in those moments.
He's kind of a gamer, like, and he talks crap.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he definitely is a chatty guy on the court. He's sort of, he's a below average defender, but he's not a liability.
You're right, though. There is kind of a big drop off.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah, when you think about number 12 was Bojan Bogdanovic, and now number 17 is Kelly Oubre. The drop off is pretty real.
And the guys earlier in your list some of them are arguably like different positions too.
Yeah, and I mean there are guys who I'm going to include in other lists who could be included as small forwards, so that's sort of just balances itself out. But like, yeah, you're right. There's a big drop off. Number 18 is kind of going to be a guy who I think you're going to think I overrated. But I think this guy just obviously doesn't get any attention because he plays in Detroit, but is like everything you sort of want a small forward to be as like a role player. And that is Tony Snell. Who, like I said, like what he's doing this year is not getting any attention, but my man Tony Snell is shooting above 40% from beyond the arc, and he's doing it on high volume too. And I'll be the first to admit, I haven't watched every Pistons game this year. In fact, I've probably watched less than like 30 Pistons games. But
less than how many?
Probably less than like 25 or 30. I've probably watched
that's still probably more than the regular person that's not a Pistons fan.
But they're just one of those teams where I might have them on in the background if I'm not really doing anything and sort of catch parts of it. But Tony Snell is just a lights out shooter. He's a very good defender. He's like bigger and one of those like bigger long guys who, even though he's not like the stronger Kawhi Leonard, TJ Warren type of defender, is the sort of guy who moves his feet and uses his length to keep his guy in front of him. And that's and I sort of like I said, I don't know a ton about, I sort of haven't been watching every Pistons game, so I had to look it up to be sure, and he is, in fact, a statistically above average defender, too. I think he has a defensive BPM of, like, 0.1, which is as slightly above average as you can get. So an elite shooter who plays good defense. Like,
it sounds like you only have good things to say about Snell. Why isn't he ranked higher?
Well, just because his offense is basically limited to shooting.
But I mean, like in today's game, I feel like that's probably not the worst thing.
Well, yeah, but when you look at guys who I had higher than him, like even going up to like a guy like Will Barton at number 15, like those are guys who can who can't shoot threes as well as Tony Snell, but those are guys who can like put the ball on the floor and create their own offense in an ISO. And Tony Snell is never a guy who you trust with the ball in his hands to create his own shot. He's more of a play finisher than a play creator, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So like he has to have his teammates set up his shot for him, which no harm in that. Like not everybody can be a dynamic player off the dribble, and there's still a lot of value in being able to knock down 40% catch and shoot threes. But it just limits your value as an offensive player.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, Tony Snell is another one of those guys who I value, who you can drop onto any team in the NBA and he'll be able to play minutes and contribute and not really conflict with the offense that's already been put in place. So I think that's awesome. Number 19 is going to be a guy who you're familiar with, Harrison Barnes.
Yep, I love him.
A player who I think is underrated, and especially in the
He's even
Kings.
on now.
He's on the Kings, and I don't think Luke Walton uses him enough. He mostly has Harrison stand in the corner and stand in the wing and catch and shoot threes. And obviously Harrison can do that, but I think he's got a little bit of pop off the dribble too. Especially the Kings go through long periods on offense when they don't have Fox and Bogdanovich on the floor, where the offense just kind of stalls out, and you're watching Buddy Hield shoot a million mid-range off the dribble. And I really think just give Harrison Barnes the ball every once in a while.
I want Harrison Barnes back.
Yeah, he'd be so good on the Warriors. And the thing is, too, he's above average height for a small forward. Isn't he 6'8", 6'7", 6'8"? And so that length allows him to be a very
I want him back, dude.
Yeah,
they should try.
Yeah. He's just I keep going back to this, but he can fit onto every team just because his game has no real weak points.
He plays good defense.
Yeah, he's not a dynamic player. He's not an all right touch of the imagination, but teams can't leave him open from three. If he has to, he can create a little bit off the dribble and sort of get to his own shot. He plays good defense. He's a bigger guy for a small forward. Harrison Barnes is just an all-around very solid starting small forward in the NBA. And he's a guy I like a lot.
Why did we get rid of him?
Money. I mean, you had to sign Durant.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, and then you could make the case that Harrison Barnes got overpaid by the Kings this offseason, and you'd probably be right. But yeah, the thing I don't like is when people sort of use contracts and use the amount of players getting paid as sort of a way to say a player is worse. Just because he's overpaid doesn't make him any worse as a player, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, yeah, Harrison Barnes, number 19, just an all-around solid guy. This guy I have next is a very similar player to Harrison Barnes. I would say he's a little bit better defensively and a little bit worse offensively, but a similar mold, and that is Jay Crowder. Just like Harrison Barnes, Jay Crowder is another one of those guys who can easily slot up and play power forward when needed. He's a guy who shoots the ball, not as good at shooting as Harrison Barnes, but just as, if not more confident shooting it. And so he's a guy who draws the defender out. A little bit less pop off the dribble than Harrison, but he's a more physical, better defender than
Who's
Barnes.
Jay on right now?
He's on the Heat right now. And as sad as it is for me, he took Myers Leonard's spot in the starting lineup for the Heat.
Really?
So, yeah.
Was Jay ever on this? Who was he on before that?
Yeah. Were you about to say the Celtics?
Yeah.
Yeah, he used to be on the Celtics. And then the team he was on right before that.
They had that badass lineup with Isaiah.
Yeah, and they made the playoffs and Kelly and all those guys. Yeah.
And Marcus Smart. That was a good team.
Yeah. Yeah, it was. And
they were chippy.
Yeah, they were. Yeah, that was a fun. That year was. What year was that? Was that 2016 or 15? That had to be 16, right?
Yeah, and then they had Terry Rozier too.
Yeah.
And then they had Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown.
That might have been a year late. That might have been a little later, Tatum and Brown.
But I remember. Maybe. Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah. They came a year.
You're thinking of the team that played the Cavaliers in the conference.
Yeah. Never mind. Yeah, I'm thinking wrong team.
Yeah. But yeah, Jay Crowder was on the Celtics at one point for sure. And yeah, that's pretty much all I want to say about him. Number 21. Here, let me look quick. Yeah, aside from Chris Middleton and maybe a couple other guys, this is probably the best shooter who I'm going to have on the list today. And that's Joe Harris, who is one of those guys we talked about, like J.J. Redick or Duncan Robinson, where he can just space out the floor like crazy, run off the screens. He likes to run off of flare screens and get to the top of the key and shoot those catch-and-shoot threes, and he's just a flamethrower. Shoots above 40% from beyond the arc on high volume. He's going to be a guy who, even when the Nets add back Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving, Joe Harris is going to be a guy who fits alongside those guys and is a key role player. Not the best defender. He's a little small, but he's pretty strong. He's not a liability, even though he's a guy who teams like to attack. I'd say he's not hurting you too bad on that end, and the offense is a big deal. So Joe Harris, number 21. Number 22 is the first rookie on this list. And
yeah, Joe Harris is good.
Yeah. And
also, by the way, Giants down 6-1. Came back and won 7-6.
Hey, nice.
Let's go.
What's their record now?
8-11.
Okay, that's not that bad, right?
Better than projected.
Yeah. At this point, though, like 8-11, it probably won't be good enough to make the playoffs, right? Like, you still don't think the Giants are going to make the playoffs?
There's still how many games left?
Yeah, I mean, there's still a ton of games left. But
if you're gonna run, who knows?
Yeah. Okay,
and plus, we're like in the. It's tough though because we're literally in one of the toughest divisions in the and because the Rockies so good, Padres so good, Dodgers so good, and then I don't know how the Diamondbacks really doing, but we're in a really tough division, so it'll be a grind if they want to win, or if they want to make to the playoffs. Actually,
do you wish they would tank ever, or do you just want to win as many games as possible?
I mean, we've been tanking for the last 6 years, so we have a lot of good guys that are going to be coming up soon.
That's how I kind of am as a fan. Even if
I want to win.
Yeah, even if the Blazers were like starting to get worse and starting to decline, and it wasn't quite realistic for them to contend anymore, I don't think I could ever like not root for them to win basketball games. You know, like it. Just,
absolutely.
Just goes against every instinct as a fan.
And for some reason, I don't know. Like I just like root for like the teams that I root for just have really good like organizations that know how to put shit together and recover fast. And like I just like trust the moves they make. It might take some time, but like they always somewhat have some pieces that can be competitive.
And there are great players who get drafted between like 10 and 15th all the time. Like you don't necessarily have to.
Dude,
like,
some of the best players, like George Kittle, he wasn't like a highly touted prospect.
Yeah, you don't have to be a terrible team to draft good players. So
nope. I mean, you've seen it with the Patriots for the last, what?
Decade? 2 decades, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it helps to have like one of the greatest players of all time, but I mean, still. It takes more than one to... I don't know. You always have to have a good defense. I don't know.
Right.
They've always had good players.
Yeah, speaking of good defense is number 22 on my list, and also the first rookie, Matisse Thybulle, out of the University of Washington, was on the 76ers this year. And I think
we were just talking about him.
Yeah, and I think he has the potential to be the best defender in the NBA at some point in his career. I know I said this about OG Anunoby, but Matisse Thybulle definitely has Defensive Player of the Year potential too. And very limited minutes with the Sixers. Like I think he played like 20-some minutes a game. He still was top 5 in the league in steals, and I'm pretty sure he was top 10 in blocks as well. This is a kid who just creates chaos whenever he's on the floor. His signature is even when he gets screened or even when he gets beat by his guy, you never really have fully beat him because he's better than anybody in the NBA at getting chased down blocks from behind. And his arms are so long, and he has such good timing and instinct. He just has a knack for like blocking people's shots from behind. He's always got a hand in passing lanes. He's always got a hand somewhere close to the ball. He just has great instincts for playing defense, and that's why I like Matisse so much. The offensive game is still lagging behind. He's a bad three-point shooter. He started out the year shooting the three ball very well, but it turned out to be unsustainable, and he sort of came back to earth to being a below-average shooter. He sometimes puts the ball on the floor, but he's not very good at that yet. So he's just going to find a niche. He's going to need to find a niche offensively. And I think the most likely niche is just being an average three-point shooter. And I think that's very doable for him in the next couple of years. And when you combine that with Defensive Player of the Year potential, Matisse is obviously a guy I'm very high on.
Yeah.
Number,
I think that Damian Lillard's probably the best point guard in the NBA.
I mean, yeah, it's him and Steph at this point. So,
Dude, like honestly though, but I mean like
yeah, I mean,
I've literally been thinking about this like while you're talking and stuff. Like the more I
yeah,
think about it, he's like so good.
it's going to be interesting to see how
This
Steph
next
does.
year is like kind of make or break if Steph wants to solidify his spot as best point guard probably
Yeah, in the
this
league.
upcoming year.
Yeah. Do you have Steph as the best point guard of all time?
Of all time.
Yeah. Like, do you think he's better than like Magic Johnson?
I mean like I'm not really qualified to say. I've never seen him play really.
That's true. Yeah. I mean,
But I mean like as far as shooters, he's the best shooter ever.
oh yeah. I don't think there could be possibly any debate there.
But if Dame keeps on his track, bro. Oh.
Dame's not gonna pass Steph as the best shooter.
No, yeah, but people could like forget about Steph quickly if Dame keeps playing the way he is. Not forget about Steph, but like you know how people take back seats when they're super hot. Like when Steph had his crazy years, and everyone's like, "Dude, he might be better than LeBron." And then like
for those few years, he was better than LeBron.
Yeah, and so you never know. Steph could take a back seat quicker than people think. But I don't. He's so good though.
Do you think Steph is the type of person to sort of concern himself with the fact that people think Dame's better than him, or do you?
Dude, Steph doesn't care. Are you kidding me? He'll go like this. He'll go like this, and then he'll be like, "Look at my 2 MVPs, bro."
Yeah. The thing I love about Steph too that doesn't get talked about as much is how like selfless he is. Like how many people who are in Steph Curry's position as being talked about as one of the best point guards of all time, being the best player on a championship team. How many guys would be okay with allowing a guy like Kevin Durant to come into the organization and sort of take on the lead role? And
Zero.
And just be a super good teammate and sort of take a, like, not a backseat, but like.
You know what I meant when I said this?
Yeah.
Like his rings?
Right, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. I thought you were confused when I did that.
Yeah. Yeah, we all know the Warriors have won 3 championships, Colin. You don't have to remind them.
And back to back and first ever unanimous MVP.
Mm-hmm. Hopefully they do good in the lottery this year. I'll be rooting for you guys. But yeah. So anyway, I guess getting back to the small forward list, we're almost done. Number 23 is Mo Harkless, former Trailblazer.
Mm-hmm.
Another one of those guys in the Barnes Crowder mold who isn't really dynamic on offense but can shoot open threes, and he's like those two guys, he's sort of a taller guy for a small forward, and he can slot up to power forward. A lengthy defender. He was the Blazers' sort of go-to guy for putting on the best players on the other team. And so obviously a guy who's capable like that of doing stuff like that is a valuable guy to have on your team. He's just not good enough offensively or defensively for me to justify him putting him any higher. I'd say he's slightly below average offensively, slightly above average defensively. It kind of just washes out. Harkless, it's kind of funny. His nickname is literally the most average player in the NBA. Like, people like to say he's the most average player in the NBA, and it's kind of funny because it's sort of true. But yeah, anyway, 23, Mo Harkless. 24, Dorian Finney-Smith. The thing about Dorian Finney-Smith is I had to look this up this morning when I was making, or not this morning, this afternoon when I was making this list. Is actually a 37% three-point shooter, which was surprising to me because I don't really view him as being an above-average shooter. And most of it just is like the high majority of his shots are just wide-open three-pointers in the corner, which is obviously the easiest three-pointer in basketball. But still, there's something to be, and obviously he's being set up by one of the best playmakers in the league, in Luka Doncic. So he's basically being spoon-fed the easiest shots in basketball, but still you have to make them. And Dorian Finney-Smith has been making shots this year. His offensive game is basically limited to that. He's not going to do well. He has some explosiveness around the rim. So if
who's he play for?
The Mavericks.
Oh, so
if he
did I watch him play today?
Yeah, he was the guy. Remember at the very end of the game when the Mavericks hit that three, but it got waved off because Trey Burke basically.
he was the corner three.
Yeah, but then Trey Burke basically tackled Damian Lillard. So
yeah. Dame just stepped in front of him.
Well, obviously he's going to step in front of him because in front of him, he was running to contest the corner three. So obviously he has to go in front of him on the way to get to the corner. But
no, wasn't. Wait, so who had the ball? Trey Burke?
Yeah, so.
But Trey Burke was running out and he kicked it out to Dorian, I guess. But then Damian just stepped out in front of Trey and ran into him. I mean, yeah, that's how it went down, I'm pretty sure.
I mean, Dame was.
No. But I'm being real, though. That's basically what happened, though.
Yeah, Dame was.
If Dame didn't do that, that three would have counted.
Yeah, Dame was running to the corner to contest the three. And
he was not. He lit it. Okay. All right. Okay. Yeah, sure. Dame was running to the corner to contest the three ball.
And then Trey Burke tackled him like a linebacker.
Trey Burke ran into him.
Yeah,
He ran into him on accident.
Well, yeah, obviously it was
Gary Trent's so fun to watch. Like he just is a flopper. Like it's so funny.
Yeah, it's okay, but
he plays super hard defense and he's like, oh, and then he gets back up and plays defense again if they don't call it.
the one on him, Kristaps, that one definitely was a flop. Like he accentuated the contact for sure.
But so did Kristaps though.
Yeah,
Kristaps did a flop too.
Yeah, the one where Luka shoved Gary Trent to the ground. I actually thought that
I didn't see that.
It was in the fourth quarter too. It was probably with 4 or 5 minutes left to go. Luka pushed off so hard on Gary Trent, and
it
was crazy.
Yeah, there was a few ticky-tack calls that were against the Blazers, but that's all I saw.
I know there are a few ticky-tack fouls against the Mavs too. Like the refs were just very whistle happy.
Like the corner three one.
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, you mean the one with Dame? Oh, I thought.
No, that was just a smart play by Dame.
Yeah, I thought you were talking about the one where Dame drew the foul in the corner three, but no, the one where Trey Burke did his best linebacker impersonation was pretty much as not ticky tack as it gets. But
Trey didn't have anywhere else to go except into Dame, though.
What about around Dame?
Yeah, but wasn't all of his momentum was going, and then all of a sudden Dame's right in front of him. That's how I remember. I could be completely wrong, but I remember the announcers being like, "That was a smart play by Dame, or else that three would have counted."
That's very convenient for Trey Burke. That his momentum was taking him right into the one player that would have been able to contest the shot. So.
Oh yeah, I guess that's true. I don't know. I want to rewatch it.
Yeah, we'll have to rewatch it. But anyway, yeah, Dorian. I'm sorry, Dorian Finney-Smith, that you had to get wrapped up in all of this, but you're number 24 regardless. Number 25 is a guy who really made me sad to rank him here, but I just don't know if we'll ever see him healthy, and that's Jonathan Isaac, who has been fighting injuries for 2 years now. He just
wasn't meniscus, or what was it? He hurt something.
It might have been an ACL.
ACL.
I think and that's going to keep him out all of next season. So it's just hard to know if we'll ever see Isaac healthy. I thought he had the potential to be the defensive player of the year at some point. I know I've said that about 3 guys on this list, but Isaac was 6'10", super quick feet. The crazy thing that made him so unique is he could stop the quickest point guards on the perimeter and stay in front of them, and he could also be an elite rim protector because he was so tall and he was so long, and he had such great verticality that he was an awesome shot blocker too. He could take an entire side of the court out of play just because he could use his length and instincts to just get steals.
Yeah, you were raving about him before, like literally a day before he got hurt.
Yeah, I loved Jonathan Isaac. Even I thought he was overrated, but I just thought his potential was just so intriguing, and now it's becoming apparent to me that we'll probably never get to see any of that potential. So
that's so sad.
Yeah.
You never know.
Yeah, you never know. Maybe.
But it's like when someone comes, like we never got to saw obviously I wasn't around, but like I heard a bunch about it, and it's like you never got to see what Sean Livingston could have actually been because he had a pretty devastating injury. But
Yeah,
he still ended up being like a decent player. Like he obviously helped the Warriors a lot in their playoff runs.
yeah, but he wasn't like the player he could have been. So yeah, maybe you're right. Maybe Jonathan Isaac can find some sort of other way to contribute. But
But I mean, like they've seen guys that have had pretty crazy injuries come back. Like I mean, what Paul George went through was pretty insane, and what Hayward
yeah,
went through was pretty crazy too, and they
the
seem to
thing
be pretty fine.
the thing that worries me though is when you tear your ACL, then you put a brace on that knee and tear that ACL again. It just is starting to look like a bit of a sketchy situation, you know?
Oh, this is his second time.
Yeah.
Yikes.
I didn't even know if it was.
Yikes.
I didn't even know that it was possible to tear your ACL if you had a brace on that knee. I thought like the whole point of the brace was that it literally prevented the knee from moving that way. But I guess it is possible, obviously. So that's a bummer.
Yeah.
Do you know anything about that? Like, because you're like into that medical sort of stuff, right? So are are like so our brace is like 99% effective, you think, but like there's a 1% chance still.
I think that braces are fine, but I don't think that like braces aren't as effective as you think probably. Like I'm
Or
sure they like hold things and make them more stable, but if you literally have an artificial tendon as a AC or ligament now. It's not real. I mean, like if you do something that like irritates it, or if you just bend it in the wrong way, I'm sure you can tear it again. It doesn't like the brace is there obviously to keep it like stable, but if you come down on something weird, it's like inevitable. Because like the anterior cruciate is like I'm pretty sure it's kind of like it's like in the middle of your knee. So I think if you come down, it might not have to, it might not necessarily be. I might be completely wrong, but it doesn't necessarily probably have to be lateral movement that breaks. Is it how did he hurt his knee?
he was doing like a little hop step, like on his way to do a layup, and it was a non-contact. He just like hopped and landed on that knee, and it just kind of buckled under him.
Yeah, if he like when his knee landed and it went forward like this, it could have snapped
Dang.
because
Yeah.
it's like that in the middle of your knee, and it's not like a side one. So if he just like did a weird movement, jerking movement, it could have just broke off like his femur or whatever the fuck it's connected.
Yeah, I'm sure that sounds like it's probably what happened to him, and it's just so sad to see someone go down on a non-contact injury like that. But
Yeah.
yeah, and the worst possible part of it was that he was due for his contract extension this summer, so he's going to be missing out on probably a lot of money unless the Magic still somehow are in love with his potential, which I find it harder and harder to be now. So, anyways, before I get too sad, I'm going to move on to number 26, and that is your 2020 Slam Dunk champion, Derek Jones Jr. of the Miami Heat. Obviously, Derek Jones Jr. is most well known for his athleticism, like finishing alley-oops, finishing crazy dunks, but he was also an above-average defender this year. Like just the size and athleticism he has allow him to compete at a high level defensively. His offensive game is still very limited. He's pretty much just a slasher, but when you're playing with guys like Bam Adebayo and Jimmy Butler, like that's a pretty good thing to be. So Derek Jones Jr. is a guy who I have at number 26. I would say there was probably at this point it's starting to get like pretty sparse. Like even though there are 30 teams in the NBA, I don't think there are 30 starting caliber small forwards, you know. I would say there are probably like 22 or 23 starting caliber small forwards, and now we're getting into guys who are fine backups, but you don't trust them as starters. Number 27 is a guy who hasn't started in a long time.
Yeah, what happened is like he like his leg was like all of his weight was like in on the ins, like his leg was like that, and I think all that
Did you go
force.
back and watch it?
Yeah, just snapped
Yeah.
it. Because like, yeah, that's honestly weird. Because like the brace obviously is supposed to like help with lateral movement, but with the way his leg was, he got the lateral movement in a different way, and it just loaded his knee in a way that it just must have busted his. Like that's brutal. Because like if he like would have like jab step to the side, it wouldn't happen. But since his weight was like bearing in the middle, all of that weight is just coming down, and that sucks. That's literally terrible, especially the same knee.
I know. Yeah,
That's trash, bro. That's awful.
the non-contact ones are my least favorite to watch. They're the worst. But yeah.
The one that was weird for me was when KD, like the whole game, I knew something was gonna happen.
Yeah. Did you ever see there was that close-up video of it that was trending on Twitter, and you could literally see like the ripple in his sock where his Achilles just had snapped in it.
He went up into his calf.
Yeah, and you could like see it moving through his leg.
Yeah, you see it wiggle up into his calf muscle.
It's disgusting.
Yeah, it is pretty foul.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's awful.
My least favorite ones though are the ones where bones actually get broken and you can hear it though. You know, like even through TV, like when Nurk broke his leg, you could like hear it crack, which
Yeah,
the sound makes it worse in my opinion. But
I don't like the compound fractures. I think that's what they're called when the bone leaves the body.
oh, yeah.
Obviously, no one probably likes that.
No, I would hope not. Yeah, let's move on from injuries. This is starting to get a little
compound fractured injury in which the broken bone pierces the skin.
Yeah.
Does that give you the like? Does that not make you feel uncomfortable?
Doesn't sit well with me.
Yeah,
But,
gives you like the heebie-jeebies.
Yeah, number 27 on the small forward list.
Then you probably shouldn't watch Project 11 then. If just talking about it makes you like queasy.
Yeah, I've kind of been avoiding it for that reason. I'm pretty sure I'd probably need some sort of bucket to throw up in if I were to watch Project 11. Number 27 is Andre Iguodala. Obviously washed up, getting older. Yeah, just not as good.
You have a lot of Heat players.
Yeah, the Heat are pretty rich in small forwards. This is their third guy, who I've said. It's funny. They don't have a single guy in my top 19, but they have number 20, number 26, and number 27. And so Andre Iguodala, still one of the smartest players in the NBA, still a good defender who won't play good defense for the entire season, but he's a guy you trust to sort of lock down when it matters. He doesn't have a whole lot of shooting ability on offense, but he's, like I said, a smart player, which counts for a lot. He keeps the ball moving. He'll find the open guy. He knows how to play in a system. So, yeah, Andre Iguodala, even though for just like overall regular season, just if you're playing an entire season, I don't know if I'd have him top 30. But if you need to win a game that matters, Andre is a guy who you like having on your team, you know? So, yeah, that's why I included him. Number 28, a guy who's been fighting injuries for a long time, is Otto Porter Jr. Had yet another year that was pretty much completely lost to injuries. But the potential is still there for Porter. He's still got the size. He can shoot it. He's been a good defender. He's pretty much the prototypical 3-and-D small forward, just a guy who obviously can shoot the ball at above league average rate and can defend his position very well. He's just never been healthy enough to sort of act on that potential. But I'm not too worried about – I think it's been mostly ankle injuries from this year. So I'm not really worried about how that specific injury is going to affect him going forward. But at this point, you just kind of have to think he's made of glass. So if it's not something with him, it's something else. So
yeah,
the guy I worry about. Number 29, yet another guy who lost this season to injury, but will hopefully be back in time for the beginning of next year, and that's Rodney Hood of the Portland Trail Blazers.
Oh, yeah.
Rodney Hood is an elite three-point shooter, above 40%, which is obviously crazy, especially for a small forward. Like above 40%, you can kind of expect that from the best point guards and shooting guards, but even for great small forwards shooters, 40% is still the best of the best, and that's where Rodney was this year. I worry about how his dynamism off the dribble is going to be affected by the Achilles. I think it'll slow him down, make it a little bit harder to get to like the step backs and sort of the crossovers he liked to. So I think his offensive game is going to be a little bit less versatile. I think he'll still be one of the best shooters in the NBA at this position.
I got
But
a little ring light, but it to improve the lighting, but it ran out of batteries, so I have to charge it later.
oh, really?
Sorry to cut you off. Yeah, it helps a lot actually.
Does it just clip onto your laptop?
Yeah, it just clips on right over the camera.
Well, that's cool.
Yeah, it was
out.
like it wasn't that expensive. It was on Amazon.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah,
I'll research that. That's pretty cool.
it improves the lighting a lot, but you have to make sure you charge it a lot though, because I just pulled it out of the box and put it on, so it probably wasn't at full like capacity probably.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah. Yeah, so anyway, number 29, Rodney Hood, probably is going to obviously be set back by the injury, but one of the best shooters on this list, which has to count for something. Number 30 is another Trailblazer, and that's Trevor Ariza. Unfortunately, had to miss the Orlando bubble, but he's a guy.
It's been a huge addition.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, we're so weak at small forward that even having a guy like Trevor Ariza would have made a massive difference. But yeah, he's just an average shooter, can knock down those corner threes at a fine enough clip, and he can do a decent job defending his own position. He's just kind of a guy who quietly is average. And so, yeah, nothing really special. He's in the twilight of his career. In Sacramento at the beginning of the year, he definitely was looking washed up. As once he was in Portland, he is starting to look a little bit better. He was making shots more often, which is probably just a coincidence. But, I mean, he started to look a little bit better.
He can hit the three ball.
Yeah, he can. I bet he's like a 36, 37%er. But
that's not bad at all.
Yeah, but on super easy attempts, it's nothing crazy either. But, yeah, so Trevor's a guy who isn't the most exciting name, but when you're like the Blazers and literally you don't have one single small forward, you could do a lot worse than Trevor Ariza. Especially he's good size for the position. But I would say he probably has like 1 or 2 good years left. Well, he has no good years left. He has 1 or 2 years left where he can actually contribute in a meaningful way.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's it for the top 30. Any thoughts?
I like all of it. I mean, obviously, you said just like you said that it kind of drops off. So I mean, like the guys that you kind of said, it'll like where they fit. Like it might not like the skill level. I feel like might not matter as much as the individual player probably would fit better in an individual system. You know what I mean? Like certain guys will probably be better in certain situations.
Yeah, and that's why I always love guys in our shoe to like shout them out when I think they could like be a good fit in any system. Is that when you get to guys who aren't the best of the best, it's so important to have that sort of versatility that allows you to play with everybody in the league.
Exactly.
There are a few names who didn't quite make my top 30 list, but these aren't even honorable mentions because these aren't like the best 5 players that didn't make it. They're just 4 players who I think or 5 players who I think are interesting to talk about. So I just want to read them off really quick. The first one is your boy Andrew Wiggins.
Wait, he didn't make it? He's really good.
I mean, yeah, he didn't make it for me. I'm sorry.
In the top 45?
No, this was just the top 30. I didn't do 45 this time.
Dude, how could you not? I totally forgot. I would take Andrew Wiggins over like almost all of those guys outside of the top 10.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Bro, he averages almost 20 points a game, and he's a pretty good, solid defender from what I've seen.
I would push back on the solid defender thing. I think maybe if Steve Kerr can provide a little bit of discipline in his life, maybe he starts becoming an average defender. He's actually a guy who I can see moving up this list because he was bad this year, but I actually think once he's playing on a competitive team in the Warriors and the games actually start to matter, I think
wasn't that bad. Every game he played in with the Warriors, he pretty much did fine.
Yeah, I'm talking about the time he spent on the Timberwolves too. I think Steve Kerr can kind of shore up some of his shortcomings. Obviously, the thing you look at with Wiggins the most, besides his lack of effort on defense for me, is his terrible shot selection on offense. He has an affinity for off the dribble 3-pointers and long twos, which he is terrible at. He's not a good 3-point shooter. He's not a good mid-range shooter. He doesn't get to the basket as much as you'd hope for a guy with his athleticism. So yeah, he just has a whole lot of sort
From
of.
what I've seen, he's pretty good.
Yeah, he just has a lot of excess fat in his game that needs to be taken out. And by excess fat, I mean terrible shots. And so once he's playing with Steph and Clay, I bet he can be a good contributing role.
He's going to be like a Harrison Barnes.
Yeah, hopefully, yeah. And in that case, I'll have no problem moving him up into like the top 25.
I honestly think he's going to be better not feeling like he has to carry the weight of a team on his shoulders.
Yeah, I think you're probably right.
He's going to space out the floor a lot.
Well, I don't really know if I'd consider him a spacer. He's nothing special from beyond.
No, I just like you can't leave him open. You can't afford to leave him open. Is what I'm saying. Like if you give him open looks, he's probably gonna kill you. I mean, like he can score the basketball and he gets to the rim pretty good and he can finish and he's athletic and also like he can't, like I know he probably takes some like low percentage shots, but he can drain it from beyond the arc for sure. And like those long twos, he can drain them. So like he's definitely not like he's probably one of the more well-rounded small forwards, I think.
Yeah, I mean,
like when he was playing against the Lakers, he was actually playing defense on LeBron, and LeBron wasn't liking it.
Here, let's just do some quick statistics for Andrew Wiggins from this year. He shot 46% from the field. Nothing wrong with that. That's pretty average. 34% from three, which obviously he took some hard shots in Minnesota, but 34% I don't quite think is going to cut it. He was 51% on twos, which is good. Like, obviously, he's an athletic guy. Like, he can finish at the basket, like you were saying. 67% from free throws. That's pretty bad.
Yeah, that is bad. That is really bad.
19 points per game, obviously coming on low efficiency, like we went over. A PER of 17.5 when she was on the Warriors, so that's nothing bad at all. True shooting percentage was below average. He didn't take enough three-pointers, well, as many as you'd like. Only a three-point attempt rate of 32. I'd probably say that's going to go up to 40 once he starts playing in Golden State. Turnover percentage was average, so that's pretty good. Usage percentage was 25%. I bet that goes down to like 16 or 17 or 18% with the Warriors, which obviously is going to help his efficiency go up because he's going to be cutting most of the hardest shots out of his game. The thing that's the most troubling for me, and like we were going to get to this eventually, is his defensive box plus minus, which is my favorite stat to look at defensively. And without going basically into minutia of analytics, it's how well did your team do on defense without you on the floor versus how well did they do at defense with you on the floor. And for Andrew Wiggins, that was negative 1.1, which means his team gave up almost one extra point or over a point per 100 possessions when he was on the floor, which is not good and not something you'd expect out of a player of Wiggins' caliber. So I think you might be right. I might be sleeping on Andrew Wiggins a little bit. I think going to Golden State is the best thing that could have possibly happened for his career.
Yeah, I agree. That's what everybody was saying, basically.
Yeah. I think he's definitely a guy who could find himself in the top 30 if we have this conversation again.
Oh, absolutely. I'm surprised he's not in it now, to be honest.
I mean,
I would have him over Andre Iguodala.
He has the potential, but he's just been so bad for the past couple of years. It's just hard to reward something we haven't seen, you know?
Yeah.
But Another guy who I wanted to talk about is Spurs rookie Keldon Johnson, who had been in the G League pretty much all year, but is down in the bubble with the San Antonio Spurs and has been playing very well. He can shoot the three. He's got some pop off the dribble. He can defend other small forwards. This is a guy who I think we'll be seeing on this list for a long time to come. Kyle Korver for the Bucks doesn't give you much at the small forward position.
Yeah.
He's one of the best shooters in the NBA. He still at least tries on defense, even though he obviously cannot compete. A guy who has really surprised me recently is Timofey Luwawu-Cabarrot of the Brooklyn Nets. His three ball starting to go in with more consistently. He's a capable defender. He's a guy who I think can play in the rotation even when Kevin and Kyrie come back. Maybe not in the rotation, but I wouldn't be surprised if the Nets retain him for next season. And the last guy I want to talk about is Rondae Hollis-Jefferson, who just has nothing on offense. Probably one of the worst shooters in the NBA. Shoots less than 10% from beyond the arc. Can't really do anything except dunk the ball. Even layups are a bit of an adventure for him. He's I'm not even joking. He bricks layups, but he's such a good defender. He's such a versatile defender. I can't wait to see in a Toronto.
A bit of an adventure.
I can't wait to see if in a Toronto-Milwaukee series we'll probably see him matched up against Giannis at some points, and he is capable of guarding Giannis, which you can't say about probably more than 20 players in the NBA. So even though he's got nothing on offense, sometimes it's worth it for what he provides on defense, and that is pretty much it. That's all the names I had written down.
Right on. Did you see how we're probably going to have a guest on Monday? Like most definitely going to have a guest on Monday.
Yeah, it's going to be pretty exciting.
Yeah, it is going to be.
UFC writer.
Huh?
A UFC writer.
Yeah, but he also he goes to press conferences and he literally asks Dana White and all those guys the questions after. But he's the first dude to always ask the questions.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so he talks to all the fighters and everything, and it's going to be pretty sick. He literally was on Fight Island the whole entire time.
That's going to be cool. Definitely something for listeners to tune into, I guess.
Yeah. Plus, he's got the sickest voice in MMA, so it's going to be dope.
But yeah.
He sounds awesome. Yeah, it'll be cool. But yeah, thank you, Jonah, for once again blessing us with this knowledge. This is Jonah's NBA Talk Part 3, probably out of 5, and then we'll have a playoff review, obviously.
Yeah, well, it's not going to be out of 5. We can.
No. I mean, it's gonna be 5 parts because you're doing players.
Oh right, yeah.
Yeah. That's what I meant. We're gonna have this the whole time through.
Yeah, we can come up with infinite more subjects. Don't you worry.
I don't doubt you. No, I was just saying that we have 5 players, 5 different positions.
Yeah, we have 2 more positions left.
You should also do 6-man too.
Okay, yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah,
that'd be sick. Okay, all right. Well, thank you, Joe. And this one will probably be up. I don't know, later this week, and probably on Wednesday, because I also want to do on Thursday and post it on Friday a UFC 252 review.
Okay, yeah, that sounds good.
Actually, I'm just gonna have him post this one tomorrow.
Okay, cool.
Because it's not like you have to edit anything. You just put the music in the beginning, and then just post it. But yeah, sick, awesome. Thank you, Jonah.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, cool. All right, bye.